The diner smelled like burnt coffee and grease, the kind of place where truckers and locals mixed without much conversation. It was called Millie's, a low-slung brick building just off Route 9 in Cedar Falls, North Carolina, a town small enough that everyone knew everyone and strangers were noticed immediately. Staff Sergeant Rachel Dunn sat alone in the corner booth, still wearing her Navy utilities from the base, though she'd shed her blouse for a plain gray t-shirt. Her dark hair was pulled back tight and her face carried the kind of calm that came from years of training. She wasn't flashy, she didn't need to be. At 32 she'd earned her place as a Navy hospital corpsman, trained in combat medicine, trauma response, and field surgery. She'd deployed twice, once to Afghanistan, once to the Horn of Africa. She'd held dying men in her arms and brought others back from the edge. But here, in Cedar Falls, she was just another woman in uniform, and to some people, that wasn't enough. Coffee Hun, the waitress, a woman named Brenda with bleached hair and tired eyes, barely looked at her. "Please," Rachel said quietly, "black." Brenda poured and walked away without another word. Rachel didn't mind, she was used to being invisible or worse, being seen and dismissed. It had been that way since she'd arrived at Camp Lejeune 6 months ago, assigned to a forward medical unit that worked closely with Marine and SEAL teams. The men respected her skills mostly, but respect wasn't the same as belief. She could see it in their eyes when she walked into a briefing. The slight hesitation. The unspoken question, can she really handle this? She sipped her coffee and stared out the window at the empty parking lot. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the asphalt. She had the next 2 days off and she planned to spend them doing nothing. Maybe a run, maybe a book, definitely sleep. The bell above the door chimed. 3 men walked in, loud and confident. They wore civilian clothes, jeans, boots, t-shirts, but Rachel recognized the walk. Military, probably Marine infantry, maybe special operations. They carried themselves like men who'd seen action and wanted everyone to know it. They took a booth near the counter, laughing about something. One of them, a broad-shouldered guy with a shaved head and a thick neck, glanced over at Rachel. His eyes lingered for a second, then he smirked and said something to his buddies. They laughed. Rachel didn't react. She'd learned a long time ago that reacting only made it worse. Brenda brought their menus and the men ordered loud enough for the whole diner to hear. Burgers, fries, beer. Though Brenda told them she couldn't serve alcohol this late on a Sunday, they grumbled but ordered Cokes instead. Rachel finished her coffee and signaled for the check. "You military?" The voice came from behind her. She turned. It was the guy with the shaved head standing at her table now, hands in his pockets, grinning like he just asked her the most original question in the world. "I am," Rachel said evenly. "What do you do?" "Admin, supply." "Corpsman." His grin widened. "Oh yeah, Navy, huh? You deploy?" "Twice." "Where?" "Afghanistan, Africa." He nodded slowly like he was processing something difficult. Must have been rough, sitting in a field hospital handing out band-aids. His buddies laughed from their booth. Rachel didn't blink, something like that. "You ever see real combat, like outside the wire?" "I did." "Yeah." He leaned against the booth, arms crossed. "You ever have to carry a wounded man under fire, perform a cricothyrotomy in the dirt while mortars were landing, or you just patch up guys after someone else does the hard work?" Rachel set her coffee cup down carefully. She could feel her heartbeat, steady and slow, the way it always was when things got tense. She'd learned to control it, learned to breathe through anger. "I've done all of that," she said quietly, "and more." The guy laughed. "Sure you have." Brenda appeared with Rachel's check, glancing nervously between them. "Everything okay here?" "Fine," Rachel said. She put a $10 bill on the table and stood. She was 5'6", lean and strong, but next to this guy she looked small. She didn't care. "You have a good night," she said and walked past him toward the door. "Hey," he called after her, "don't take it personal. I'm sure you're great at what you do for a woman." Rachel stopped. She didn't turn around. She stood there for a moment, hand on the door handle, and then she pushed through and walked out into the cool evening air. Behind her she heard them laughing. The next morning, Rachel ran 6 miles along the back roads outside town. The air was crisp and the only sounds were her breathing and the rhythm of her feet on the pavement. Running cleared her head, it always had. By the time she got back to her small rental house, a 1-bedroom with peeling paint and a yard full of weeds, she felt better. She showered, made eggs and toast, and sat down with a book she'd been trying to finish for weeks. Her phone buzzed, a text from her commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Hayes. "Need you to come in, non-urgent when you can." Rachel frowned. She texted back, "On my way." Camp Lejeune was a sprawl of buildings, runways, and training fields. Rachel showed her ID at the gate and drove through, parking near the medical wing. Inside, she found Hayes in his office, a small, cluttered room that smelled like old coffee and paper. Hayes was in his mid-40s, balding, with a face that looked like it had seen too many deployments. He liked Rachel, she could tell, but he also didn't go out of his way to defend her when others doubted her. "Done," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Sit." She sat. "I'm putting you on standby for a joint training op next week. SEAL Team 4 is running a medical trauma drill and they need a senior corpsman to evaluate and assist. You're the most qualified." Rachel nodded, understood. Hayes leaned back in his chair. "You're going to get some pushback. Some of the guys, they have opinions." "I know. Can you handle it?" Rachel met his eyes. "I've handled worse, sir." Hayes studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Good, report Monday at 600, dismissed." Rachel stood and left. The following Monday, Rachel arrived at the training site, a mock battlefield set up in the woods outside the base. There were fake buildings, smoke machines, and actors playing wounded soldiers. It was designed to simulate chaos. The SEAL team was already there, 12 men, all in their combat gear, faces painted, ready to go. Rachel recognized a few of them. They were the best of the best, and they knew it. The team leader, a tall, lean man named Chief Petty Officer Garrett, walked over. He didn't smile. "You done?" "Yes, Chief." "You've done this before?" "Multiple times." He looked her up and down. "We're going hard today, fast-paced, high stress. If you can't keep up, you let me know." Rachel kept her voice steady. "I'll keep up." Explosions, smoke, shouts, actors screaming in fake pain. Rachel moved through the chaos with her medical kit, triaging, treating, stabilizing. She worked fast and clean, her hands steady, her mind focused. She'd done this 100 times in real life. This was easy. But the SEALs didn't make it easy. One of them, a younger guy named Petty Officer Rains, kept second-guessing her. "You sure that tourniquet's tight enough? You sure you want to intubate? Maybe just use an airway. You sure you checked his lungs?" Rachel ignored him and kept working. She didn't have time to argue. By the end of the drill, she'd treated 8 casualties, performed 2 surgical airways, and coordinated an evacuation under simulated fire. When it was over, Garrett called the team together. "Good work," he said, then he looked at Rachel. "You did fine, but next time move faster." Rachel didn't respond. She packed her kit and walked back to her truck. As she was leaving, she heard Rains talking to another SEAL. "She's decent for a woman, but I wouldn't want her on my team in a real fight." Rachel got in her truck and drove away. That night, she went back to Millie's. She didn't know why. Maybe she just wanted to feel normal. Maybe she wanted to prove to herself that she could sit in that booth and not let anyone get to her. She ordered the same thing, coffee black, a burger. The diner was quiet, a couple of locals at the counter, a trucker in the back. Brenda was there again, moving slow and tired. Rachel ate in silence. Then the door opened. The same 3 guys from before walked in. The one with the shaved head saw her immediately. He grinned. "Well, look who's back," the Navy nurse. Rachel didn't look up. He walked over to her table. "You know, I did some asking around. You're that corpsman working with the SEAL guys, right?" Rachel set down her burger. "That's right. Yeah, I heard about the drill today. Heard you didn't exactly impress anyone." Rachel looked up at him now. "Who told you that?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter. Point is, you're out of your depth and everyone knows it." Rachel's jaw tightened, but she didn't say anything. The guy leaned in. "You should stick to the desk work, sweetheart. Leave the real stuff to the men." He walked back to his booth, laughing. Rachel sat there, staring at her plate, her hands clenched under the table. And for the first time in a long time, she wondered if maybe they were right. The rumor spread fast. The guys from the diner turned out they were Marine Force Recon stationed at Lejeune had talked, and their version of the story wasn't kind. According to them, Rachel had frozen during the drill. She'd needed help. She wasn't cut out for high-speed operations. None of it was true, but the truth didn't matter. What mattered was the story. Rachel started noticing the looks, the whispers, in the chow hall, in the hallways, in the training rooms. Men she didn't even know had opinions about her. Some were subtle, some weren't. One afternoon, she was in the medical supply room restocking her kit when two junior corpsmen walked in. They didn't see her at first. "I'm just saying," one of them said, "if I'm bleeding out in the field, I want someone who can actually handle it, not someone who's there to check a box." "She's got the qualifications, though," the other one said. "Qualifications don't mean shit if you choke under pressure." Rachel stepped out from behind the shelf. Both of them froze. "Gentlemen," she said calmly, "you need something." They stammered and left. Rachel finished restocking her kit and walked out, her face blank, her chest tight. At home, she tried to let it go. She ran, she read, she kept to herself. But the isolation was wearing on her. She'd never had many friends on base. She didn't go to the bars or the parties. She wasn't good at small talk, and now, with the rumors circulating, even the few people who'd been friendly before were keeping their distance. Her phone buzzed one night, a text from her younger sister, Amy, back in Ohio. "Hey, just checking in, how's everything?" Rachel stared at the screen. She wanted to tell Amy the truth, that she was tired, that she felt alone, that she was starting to doubt herself. But she couldn't. Amy looked up to her, always had. Rachel was the strong one, the one who'd made it out of their small town, the one who'd served her country. She couldn't let Amy see her like this. She texted back, "Everything's good, busy with work, miss you." "Miss you too, stay safe." Rachel set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. The breaking point came on a Thursday. Rachel was called into Lieutenant Commander Hayes's office. When she walked in, she found Hayes sitting with another officer, a Marine colonel named Briggs. Briggs was older, gray-haired, with a face like carved stone. "Sit," Hayes said. Rachel sat. Briggs leaned forward. "Staff Sergeant Dunn, we've received some feedback regarding your performance during last week's training exercise." Rachel's stomach dropped. "Feedback, sir." "Chief Garrett and several members of SEAL Team 4 expressed concerns about your ability to operate under high-stress conditions." Rachel blinked. "Sir, I completed every task assigned to me. I treated 8 casualties, performed 2 surgical airways, and coordinated." "I'm not questioning your technical skills," Briggs interrupted. "I'm questioning your composure, your ability to lead in a chaotic environment." Rachel felt heat rising in her chest. "With all due respect, sir, I've been deployed twice. I've worked in active combat zones. I've read your file," Briggs said. "I know what you've done, but this isn't about your past. This is about your present, and right now the men you're supposed to support don't have confidence in you." Rachel looked at Hayes. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "We're reassigning you," Briggs said. "Effective immediately, you'll be transferred to the base clinic, administrative duties, no field work." Rachel's voice was quiet. "Sir, this isn't fair." "Fair or not, it's done." Rachel stood. She didn't salute. She didn't say another word. She just walked out. That night, she sat in her truck in the diner parking lot, staring at the neon sign. She didn't want to go inside. She didn't want to see those men again, but she also didn't want to go home. She got out and walked in. The diner was busier tonight, a family in one booth, a couple of older men at the counter, and at table 6 near the back a group of 5 men. 4 of them were the Marine recon guys. The 5th was someone new, a wiry man with short blonde hair wearing a faded t-shirt. He looked older, maybe late 30s. Rachel took her usual booth and ordered coffee. Brenda brought it, looking at her with something like pity. "You okay, hun?" "I'm fine," Rachel said. Brenda hesitated, then walked away. Rachel sipped her coffee and tried to tune out the voices from table 6, but they were loud, laughing, talking about some training op they'd just finished. And then the blonde guy started coughing. At first it was just a normal cough, but then it got worse, harder. He leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table. One of the Marines slapped him on the back. "You good man." The guy didn't answer. He was gasping now, his face turning red. Rachel set down her coffee and stood. "He's choking," she said. The Marines looked at her, confused. "He's choking," she said again, louder. "Move." She crossed the diner in 3 steps. The guy was on his feet now, clutching his throat, his eyes wide with panic. Rachel stepped behind him, wrapped her arms around his chest, and delivered a sharp thrust just below his ribcage. Nothing. She did it again, harder. Still nothing. The guy's face was turning purple, his knees buckled. Rachel lowered him to the floor, rolled him onto his back, and checked his airway, completely blocked, no air moving. "Call 911, she said to Brenda. Brenda fumbled for her phone. Rachel tilted the guy's head back, opened his mouth, and looked inside. She could see something lodged deep in his throat. She reached in with 2 fingers trying to hook it, but it was too far down. He wasn't breathing, his lips were blue. Rachel grabbed a steak knife from the nearest table. "What the hell are you doing?" one of the Marines shouted. Rachel didn't answer. She pulled the guy's shirt up, exposing his throat. She felt for the small dip just below his Adam's apple, the cricothyroid membrane, the spot where she could make an emergency airway. She'd done this before, once, in Afghanistan. A Marine who'd been shot in the face, blood pouring into his throat, drowning him from the inside. She'd cut a hole in his neck with a scalpel and inserted a tube, and he'd survived. She could do it again. She pressed the knife against the guy's throat. "Stop," one of the Marines yelled. "You're going to kill him." "He's already dying," Rachel said calmly. "If I don't do this, he's dead in 2 minutes." She made the cut, quick, clean. Blood welled up, but not much. She pushed her finger into the incision, creating an opening, and then grabbed a plastic pen from her pocket. She broke it in half, removed the ink cartridge, and inserted the hollow tube into the hole. Air hissed in. The guy's chest rose. Rachel leaned back, her hands covered in blood, and watched his color start to return. The Marines stared at her, mouths open. 30 seconds later, the paramedics arrived. They took over, stabilizing the guy, loading him onto a stretcher. One of them, a young woman with kind eyes, looked at Rachel. "You saved his life," she said. "That was a field crick. Where'd you learn that?" "I'm a corpsman," Rachel said quietly. The paramedic nodded. "Good work." They wheeled the guy out. Rachel stood there, blood on her hands, her heart pounding now that it was over. The Marines were still staring at her. The one with the shaved head, the one who'd mocked her, who'd called her a nurse, who'd said she didn't belong, stood up slowly. "That guy," he said, "that was Danny, he's a SEAL, Team 6. Rachel didn't say anything. The Marine walked over to her. "You just saved a SEAL's life." Rachel looked at him. "I know." He opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time, he had nothing to say. By the next morning, everyone knew. The story spread through the base like wildfire. A Navy corpsman, a woman, had performed an emergency cricothyrotomy in a diner and saved the life of a Navy SEAL. The SEAL's teammates had called the base. They'd called the hospital. They'd made sure everyone knew who Rachel Dunn was and what she'd done. When Rachel walked into the medical wing that morning, the hallway went quiet. People turned to look at her, but this time it wasn't doubt in their eyes. It was respect. Lieutenant Commander Hayes called her into his office. "Dunn," he said, "sit." She sat. "I made a mistake," he said. "I let other people's opinions override my own judgment. I know what you're capable of, I've always known, and I should have defended you." Rachel didn't respond. "Your reassignment has been rescinded," Hayes said. "You're back on the team, and Chief Garrett specifically requested you for the next joint op." Rachel nodded slowly. "Thank you, sir." Hayes leaned forward. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry." Rachel stood. "Respectfully, sir, I don't need an apology. I just need to do my job." She walked out. 2 days later, Rachel returned to Millie's. Danny the SEAL was sitting at table 6, a bandage on his throat, drinking soup through a straw. When he saw Rachel, he stood up. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the booth. Rachel hesitated, then sat. Danny sat across from her. "I hear you've been getting some grief around base," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm fine." "You shouldn't be getting grief. You're the best damn corpsman I've ever seen." Rachel looked at him. "You don't even know me." "I know you cut a hole in my throat with a steak knife and saved my life," Danny said. "That's all I need to know." He pushed a piece of paper across the table. It was a handwritten note signed by 6 members of SEAL Team 6. "If we go downrange, we want SSG Rachel Dunn with us, no one else." Rachel stared at the note. I can't make the doubters disappear, Danny said, but I can make sure the right people know who you are and what you're worth. Rachel folded the note carefully and put it in her pocket. Thank you, she said quietly. Danny grinned, thank you. Rachel walked out of Millie's that night with her head up. She didn't need everyone to believe in her, she didn't need applause or recognition. She just needed to know deep in her bones that when the moment came, when someone's life hung in the balance, she could do what needed to be done. And she had. The doubters could think what they wanted, the whispers could continue, it didn't matter anymore. Because Rachel Dunn knew the truth. She was a warrior, a healer, a woman who had proven again and again that strength wasn't about size or volume or bravado. It was about showing up, staying calm, and doing the work even when no one was watching.